you've never done burnt ends before, this show is for you. So guys, look, before we jump on into this show, I just gotta mention real quick a sale Z Grills is having. If you have any interest in any of the Z Grills, or especially this 1100 2B, Z Grills is having a sale till April 30th. It is a spring break Black Friday sale. That is going to give you close to $200 off this 1100 2B. We are talking $9.99 for a pit that's built like a tank. I got all information down below in the description, including links. Again, if you're interested in any of the Z Grills, you want to hit that link, and you want to hit that link before April 30th. So guys, look, if you've never made burnt ends before, this is going to be the show for you. I am going to break it down into simple terms and also use the more expensive Brisket Point and the cheaper version with a beef chuck. Now look, I am going to show you why, if you don't want to go the brisket route, especially with the prices of meat these days, why you could pick up a $15 chuck roast at your local market and whip up some killer burnt ends. So look, man, without further ado, let's get over to the board. Let's check out what we're working with, and let's fire up the Z Grills 1100 2B. Guys, first off, I'll have this show broken up into easy to follow chapters so you can jump back and forth. And look, if you're looking for a nice mix on a salt and pepper, I got that down in the description. And for this recipe, that is exactly where we're going. We are going with a 16 mesh black pepper and a nice kosher salt. You know, I'll mix this stuff in batches. Again, I got information down below. You can mix up your own batch, and I just keep it in the cabinet. And anytime I do a smoke or long smoke, I have it all mixed up and ready to go. And I am going to go with a Z Grills Competition blend. And also on this pit right here, I will use the smoke setting for about an hour. If you don't have the smoke setting, just go anywhere from 250 to 275 Fahrenheit. So look, here's a little pro tip when you start your pit and you got that dirty smoke. You want to keep that hood open, and you want to keep it open till all that smoke dissipates. Oh, yeah. Oh. So look, after the smoke dissipates, you can shut that hood. And so look, basically what I'm going to do, middle rack, I will run these two roast straight through with no water pan for 2 hours without checking. Now I will flank these pieces of beef with a Therma Pro right on each side of the beef. I want to know exactly what the temperature is inside the pit. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, guys, look, so when you're doing a recipe-driven show like this, it is very important to know the exact temperature inside your pit. I'm not too worried about internals of the brisket or the chuck, because I know this is going to go for a couple hours, and I can hand check that later. But if I'm setting the temp at 250, I need to know the inside of the pit is 250. A lot of times these control panels, now I haven't really tested the Z Grills yet, but a lot of times these control panels are off a little bit, or you don't get a full board reading inside the pit. So what I do is I flank the product with the probes, and I know exactly what the temperature is in the pit. So again, man, if I want to go 250, I know the temp is 250 in the pit. Now look, on this recipe here today, I am going to hit it with the smoke setting for about an hour or so. Then I will bump that temp up to 275 Fahrenheit. You can do this recipe anywhere between 250 and 275, but I want to get this thing done as quick as possible, so 275 is going to be where I'm going to land today. And look, I will bring you back. We will spritz it with some apple cider vinegar, and I'll bring you back for that. Otherwise, man, it is just let these bad boys run. We are going to develop a nice bark and take it right up to about 165 internal, and then we'll wrap it with some butcher paper. You'll see all that coming up. Other than that, it is smooth sailing. All right, guys, look, we are 2 hours in. And look, usually at that 2 hour mark, there's a few things we want to check, right? And the first thing we want to check and make sure that the rub has set up nice on the beef. And the way you do that, you basically just hit your finger with it in a couple spots. As long as no rub comes off on the finger, you know you are all set up and ready for the next step. And look, what I like to do then is I like to add a little water pan in there. Helps keep the moisture inside the pit. And also I'm going to hit it with some apple cider vinegar water. That is 50-50 apple cider vinegar water. So let's go in together. Let's check out the goods and go from there. Oh, come on. All right, so we are definitely looking good on the meat. Let's get the water pan in. All right, guys, there is no need to check the internals yet. And also just, I'm gonna put up on the screen, you could see with the flanked on both sides that we are staying right at that 275 mark, was exactly where you want to be. So look, at this time, we're just gonna let it run, and I'll bring you back in about an hour or so. And at that point, we'll give it another spritz. All right, guys, look, here's the deal. We are 3 hours in. And look, I know that chuck roast is probably in the stall at that 160, 165 range. If that's the case, we will get it off, get it on the board, get it wrapped up, and get it put back in the pit. As far as the brisket, man, we're just gonna let that run. Gotta hit that stall, which will be in that 160 range. Look, it's a bigger piece of meat, so we know that's gonna lag behind a little bit, no big deal. Let's go in together, let's check it out, and go from there. Oh, yeah. Now, before you wrap this bad boy up in butcher paper, you want to hit it with a little bit of moisture. Nice fold, nice tight wrap, and if you got that little ends left over right there, you could just fold it and tuck it under, no big deal. There you go. I am definitely digging that color. All right, guys, look, everything is looking good. The brisket has got a nice color on it. The beef chuck is nicely wrapped and put away. I do have a thermometer inside the chuck because I only want to get that up to that 200 or Toothpick Tender. That'll probably take about another hour or so. As far as the brisket, man, we just let that run until we hit the stall. At that time, I'll bring you back. All right, guys, look, we were at that 4-hour mark, and look, the temp gauge on that chuck is reading that she should be done. I will check it with a handheld, and I am hoping that brisket is also ready to get wrapped and get on. That way we're only about an hour behind the chuck. Let's go in together, let's check it out, and then go from there. Okay, so the brisket's reading about 170 or so. It's got a beautiful color, man. I am gonna get it off and get it on the board and get that wrapped. Let's go check out the chuck and see where we are with that. Remember, on that chuck, we're looking at that 200 or so, or toothpick tender. It's only about an inch and a quarter thick, so I think we're probably there. So we are looking good on the chuck. Let's get the brisket off, get it on the board, get that wrapped, and get that back on. The chuck will leave on for about another 15-20 minutes. So we are moving right along. Same thing as the beef chuck. You want to have that butcher paper all ready. You want to hit it with a little moisture and get it wrapped up. Oh, yeah. Guys, always remember when you're working with probes. So when I handheld probe it, I know I was around 170. So when I put the probe in, that's going to stay in and monitor it up to that 200 or toothpick tender, I want that probe to also read around 170. That tells me I am in the right spot and we are good to go. Guys, I'll bring you back in the next hour. All right, guys, look, I left the beef chuck on for another half hour just to kind of tighten it up a little bit. The brisket is at 180, so that got a little ways to go. Let's get the chuck on the board, unwrap it, and I'll show you the next step that we are going to do. That's going to turn this chuck into barbecue candy. Always remember, you want a pan handy. You want to get that beef chuck in the pan with the paper because you don't want to lose any of those juices. And basically what we are looking right here is about a 1 by 1 inch cube. Now look, it doesn't have to be perfectly 1 inch by 1 inch. Just do the best you can. If you got any big fat chunks like that, you can move that to the chunks of fat, move it to the side. At that point, get it in your tin, guys. Remember, full ingredient list under show notes in the description. But basically what we're going to do is a half a stick of butter. Paper not included. And from there you want to go with about 1/8 of a cup of honey. Now again, you'll adjust these measurements by the amount of of burnt ends you're gonna make, and also you're gonna go with some brown sugar. And of course, pick your favorite BBQ sauce. I am going with the Blue Ribbon sauce by PS Seasonings. So look, once you get that all sauced up, you want to give it a good mix together, get some foil on it nice and tightly, and get it back on the pit. All right, guys, look, man, are you feeling it as much as I am? That is all there is to it. We'll let that go for about an hour, and that is really gonna candy it up. At that time, I'll bring you back, or if our brisket is done, we are at 180 now, I'll bring you back for that. Either way, you are coming back. All right, guys, look, man, we are 6 hours in. I think we're rolling along pretty good. The brisket is showing 203. Let's go in, let's check that out with a handheld. If everything checks out, we'll get it on the board and repeat the process that we did on the chuck. All right, man, this is always very exciting. And look, it's been a long day for sure, man, but the payoff is great. Oh yeah. You see we got a nice wiggle on that point. Look, we got some moisture right there. We'll keep that in the pan. You see we are going through like butter. That should mean we are about 200 to 204. There you go. Oh yeah. And now look, I'm just gonna separate that cap right there. We'll separate that. And again, man, this is the same as the chuck. Nothing changes. It is 1 by 1 inch cuts, like a big dice. As close as you can get. Oh yeah. There you go. Oh yeah, that's a nice bark. Oh yeah, Pitmaster gets that. Guys, in the tin, same thing. Hit it with the butter, hit it with the brown sugar, hit it with the honey, hit it with the sauce. Oh. Guys, look, man, I know this has been a journey. I'll have some nice to follow chapters, but look, you want to smash that subscribe button and ring that bell so you get notified every time the channel does an upload. Now let's take this in. All right, guys, live. Man, that is it. We are right at the 9-hour mark, and the brisket burnt ends are done. I did unwrap them just to make sure they were tender, make sure they were right, make sure they were candied up. And they certainly are. Now look, the beef chuck is a lot more darker than the brisket burnt ends. I don't know, maybe a little bit more sugar was added, maybe a little more butter, sauce, who knows. I can tell you that both are done. I'm gonna open them up, we'll take a look at them, I'll get some snaps, and I'll bring you guys back for a taste test. All right, guys, what could one say other than BBQ candy is served? You could see the chuck has a darker color, only in some spots. You know, that could be the, just could be the sugar or whatever. Not sure if the camera's gonna focus on it. That's the dark, and we got a, all right, look, man, I gotta wrap this up, man. I think I deserve some barbecue candy. 10 hours in, and let's get a taste test of the beef chuck first. Cheers. I picked a nice fatty one, of course. I mean, guys, that is so juicy, man. It just kind of melts in your mouth, man. digging for a nice, fatty one of the brisket. All right, man, here's the deal, man. It is hard for me to tell the difference. This wasn't a beef chuck against brisket anyway. You know, maybe a seasoned barbecuer, a pit master can tell the difference between a beef chuck burnt end and a brisket burnt end, but I really can't, man. They're both smushy. They're both fall apart, melt in your mouth type stuff. And wow, man, these are freaking good. All right, man, that is it for this one. This was A to Z, man. It's going to be a long video. I'm going to have it broken up into chapters so you can jump along and go from where you want to go. I'll have the timeline and the whole works. Pick yourself up a chuck for 15 bucks as the dogs kind of wake up in the neighborhood. 15 bucks, grab a chuck, get it done, follow along, have some barbecue candy, man. That is it. I'm going to close this one out. Thanks for sticking by this one as Molly goes crazy. And until next time, we will see you soon.